You are Locked On 49ers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the Locked On 49ers Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And today, the 49ers wrapped up their preseason with a 24-24 tie against the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Brock Purdy was 9 of 12 in 3 drives, 2 of which ended in scores, including a nice touchdown drive capped off with a JP Mason plunge into the end zone. But Brock did have 1 pick, but I do not entirely blame him for it. Was it a bad throw or was it a bad Deebo Samuel route? We'll go over that. And is Brock and company ready to go? And position battles all over the field. How does this rookie class stack up, and who makes the 53-man roster? We'll break it all down, but first I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On 49ers podcast feed. However you're getting the show, we appreciate it. Make sure to check out the Locked On 49ers daily show for more in-depth coverage. Brian Peacock does a phenomenal job. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. As I said, Brock and the rest of the starters had 3 drives. Their day ended on that interception that Brock threw to Deebo. And let's just go right to that play. It was early in the second quarter. The starters were out by 4 minutes into the second quarter. So they got some run in this final preseason game, but Shanahan wasn't trying to leave those guys out there long enough for anybody to come into the season hurt. The Niners already have some injuries they're dealing with. Obviously, Ricky Pearsall's not out there dealing with that lingering injury that he's been dealing with all offseason long. And it's been a bit of an issue for the last few years for the Niners. I mean, juggling these injuries, they've missed players through chunks of the season. Last year, obviously, Brock came into the season not entirely healthy and spent his preseason just kind of getting up to speed. So Brock having the luxury this year of being able to have a full offseason, a full slate of offseason workouts and preseason games without any injury setbacks, that is the best news 49ers fans can have coming out of this preseason. But the one interception, the one blemish on Brock's day, on an otherwise pretty nice day for him in the pocket, he was picked off in the second quarter, a ball that bounced off of Deebo's hands and into the arms of the Raiders secondary. The defense back did a good job of meeting Deebo right at the ball, getting his hand in there, breaking up the play. And as Tim Ryan says, tips and overthrows, gotta get those. False start later on derailed or false start right before it had derailed the drive. The Niners had a 3rd and 1 false start, put him in a 3rd and 6, forced Brock to throw. Sam Webb, as I said, did a great job of meeting Deebo at that ball and breaking up the pass on that slant route. And Deebo, I need him to flatten that route out a little bit. I need him to he's not the best route runner. We all know this about Deebo, but that slant was kind of lazy. And I know it's the preseason and I'm nitpicking here, but this is the time of year when you get these things right. Practice makes perfect, and I want to see these routes be much more crisp this year from Deebo Samuel. This is not something, it's not one of his strong suits. It's not something he's done well. What Deebo does great is after he gets the ball in his hands. We all know this. He's not gonna be the best route runner in the world. Usually that's Brandon Ayuk on that side running that route, but we all know that saga has not yet concluded, that standoff. And I'm just going to go out and say it. I really do expect Ayuk to be back with this team for the start of the regular season. I don't think he's going anywhere. And I mean, we've seen the 49ers have these standoffs with players before, albeit this one has lasted a little longer than the others. Trent Williams also looking for a new contract. Both guys did not play. A lot of 49er starters didn't play in this final preseason tune-up. Nick Bosa not out there. Fred Warner not out there. Charvarious Ward not out there. Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, a lot of guys were not out there. And some of the offensive line, basically the entire left side of the line, not there. Banks had the broken pinky, not out there yet, not recovered from that. He did have surgery on it. Should be good to go for the season opener. So the left side of the line could look entirely different against the New York Jets for the 49ers season opener than it did today, as both Banks and Trent Williams were not out there. So you saw the Raiders getting some push on that left side of the offensive line for the 49ers throughout this one, both on run plays and pass plays. And I think that's something that we don't even need to pay attention to. That's not something that's going to be a problem once the silverback gorilla Trent Williams comes back and starts punishing fools on that outside part of that, on the left side of that line. But one guy who also wasn't there, Christian McCaffrey, I'm not going to say it didn't matter, because CMC is always that big stick of dynamite that just makes that offense explode with big gash plays that just burn defenses for huge chunks and touchdowns. But JP Mason toting the rock today looked really nice. That dude, I love the one-cut style of running backs, which is exactly what JP Mason is. Sees that hole, makes the cut, and north-south runner gets downhill in a hurry and punishes defenders who look to wrap him up with little arm tackles. You saw him just dragging dudes constantly, the yards after contact, a massive part of JP Mason's game. And I'm curious to see if his preseason performance gives him that RB2 nod over Elijah Mitchell. And maybe it won't be like one guy's really the clear number two. I think both of these guys are going to get a lot of touches as the backups to Christian McCaffrey. I think it's going to be in different situations, though. JP Mason, obviously much more effective in short yardage situations than Eli Mitchell, although Eli Mitchell is super explosive, not to say JP Mason isn't. But Eli Mitchell can rip off a massive gain in a hurry. And you saw JP Mason kind of, I'm not going to say he struggled catching the ball, but you saw him drop one. It was a tough catch for him to make, trying to tip the toes down the sideline on a comeback route along the right sideline, and couldn't pull the ball in and get the feet in bounds. So, I mean, he's not as talented as a pass catcher as Eli Mitchell is, but I still do really like him and the versatility he gives the 49ers. A nice change of pace back there, more of the punishing power back for the 49ers. Could use him a lot in goal line situations and take some of that workload off of Christian McCaffrey, who, I mean, the last few years, this guy's been used astronomically. His usage rate is just so high. And the 49ers, if they want to keep Christian McCaffrey as effective as he's been the last few years, need to find ways to get him some rest through games and not be banged up as much as he was all last season. I don't know that there was a single game where Christian McCaffrey was truly 100% healthy. Maybe the 49ers can get him a few more of those this year by spelling him with JP Mason, who looked really good, really good today. And it's looked nice all through the preseason. Brock, overall, as I said earlier, 9 of 12 on the day. Started off this game pretty hot. First play from scrimmage. Throws a nice touch pass down the sideline to Deebo, let him go up and get it one-on-one versus the rookie corner. And a great job by Deebo to get both feet down inbounds. Not something we usually see Deebo doing, playing tightrope on the sideline. He's usually in the middle of the field, breaking tackles and going for big gains. But right here in this play, Deebo, 27-yard gain down the sideline, and did a great job of getting that left foot down before he went out of bounds. Raiders then left Kittle wide open over the middle for a big chunk of a 15-yard gain, and Kittle looked great after the catch, although we didn't really see him with too many opportunities today. But on this one, a nice little hook route over the middle of the field, left wide open by that Raiders defense, just sat down in that soft spot of the zone and took it for another 7-8 yards. And he looked fast, man. He caught the ball, turned around quick, made a guy miss. I mean, Kittle, if he looks this fast, at this point early in the season, that's a good sign to me. I think that George Kittle's health is essential for the 49ers' success this year. I think George Kittle is clearly the best tight end in all of football when you consider everything the position does. Blocking is a huge part of that, and there is no better run blocker at the tight end position as far as starters go than George Kittle in the NFL. And the fact that he's probably the best tight end with the ball in his hand after the catch also in the NFL is pretty dang good too. I will give Travis Kelce the nod in the route running category, the hands category, but Kittle was really nice today. You also saw him make a nice leaping grab over the middle later in this one. That was another impressive toss by Brock Purdy. This was in the second drive, I believe, of the game for the 49ers. Got it up over the linebacker and down under the safety, let Kittle go up and make a play, got the ball. Great catch by George Kittle, and gave the 49ers a first down at midfield on the grab, 19 yards on that play. And in that second drive was just full of big gain after big gain after big gain. JP Mason had a couple big runs of 10 plus yards where on first down, he just took the ball, cut right through the Raiders defense and got into that second level pretty easily. And once you're in that second level, if you're a guy that big, you're going to drag some bodies with you. So JP Mason looked really, really good. I keep saying this, but man, I liked what I saw from young JP Mason back then. He's not that young anymore. He's been on the 49ers roster for a couple of years now, and he seems to really know his role. He seems to fit into this offense well, and they seem to have a clearly defined situation for him where he's going to be the more the power backup, and you'll have Eli Mitchell be the speed guy. So nice couple different options that you got back there going forward. Purdy also continued to show off on that drive. He showed his escapability, got down before the hit and scrambled for 14 yards, putting the Niners into the red zone, ended up capping that drive off with a JP Mason run for a touchdown, showing off the patience and the power, followed the O-line right into the end zone. Brendel out in front, giving the huge push, putting the linebacker like 5 yards deep into the end zone, gave the 49ers a 10-0 lead. That was a 12-play, 85-yard drive, and JP Mason was the one who kept the offense on schedule. All positive plays, did not get any negative yards from JP Mason at all today, really. I mean, even when he got stuffed at the line of scrimmage, he still managed to fall forward for at least somewhat of a positive gain. A very, very, very solid performance by this first string offense, who was, missing a lot of these first stringers. You're still missing Ayuk. You're still missing Trent Williams. You're still missing like half your offensive line. You're missing your all-pro running back. So 49ers, I think, for what they had today, you had basically Brock, Deebo, and George Kittle as far as what your normal first string skill players would be out there. And they, I think, had a pretty solid showing today. I didn't see anything that glared out to me as like an issue that they got to, solve it. I would like to see Deebo run some better routes, but that's not going to be fixed between now and the start of the season. Deebo's never really run super crisp routes. 49ers dominated that first quarter with starters on starters, 10 first downs, only 1 for the Raiders. So the 49ers defense, which we haven't gotten into too much, we'll get into that a little bit later. The defense was doing their job too, even without, your 3 biggest names on defense, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, and Charvarious Ward all out today. 10 first downs for the 49ers in that first quarter, only 1 for the Raiders, 152 total yards for the 49ers, only 29 for the Raiders. And the 49ers also forced a turnover. We'll talk about that on the other side after a quick break. And no turnovers for the 49ers. And, of course, the 1 touchdown and a Jake Moody field goal. Jake Moody kicked a 49-yarder right down the middle of the uprights. So that was good to see. That was an adventure last year. I need Jake Moody to give me less heart attacks this year than he did last year. I don't want to have, heart palpitations every single time that it's 4th down and within, 50 yards of the end zone. I need Jake Moody to hit some kicks, man. We got to take a quick break here on the Locked On 49ers postcast. On the other side, we need to talk a little bit about what this defense did and go over some other things from today. There's a lot to get into. Position battles all over the field, wide receiver, backup quarterback, linebacker. There's so many things that the 49ers need to figure out. Also, some nice play by the defensive line and some key standouts there as well. A lot of stuff to get into on this Locked On 49ers postcast. Stick with us. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. The show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What are your self-care non-negotiables? Maybe you never skip leg day or therapy day. When your schedule is packed with kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. If you've benefited from therapy, I think that you're not the only one. I have as well. Therapy is vital for everyone, not just those who have experienced major trauma. It's helpful for learning and positive coping skills and learning how to set boundaries. It also empowers you to be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime, no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and I'm just taking a brief look at the chat. Got a Raider fan in here saying, just tie, baby. I'm not sure that's what Al Davis's line was, but that'd be better than what the Raiders do most of the time now. So maybe that's the new what the Raiders are shooting for with Pierce as the head coach. I don't know, man. There's a lot of questionable things going on over in the Raider Nation, but 49er faithful looking to push for the quest for 6, as we have been for God knows how long now. I mean, it's basically my whole life. The last time the 49ers won a Super Bowl was in 94, and I was born in 93. So I don't remember that, obviously. I don't remember much from when I was 1, but I need the 49ers to win a Super Bowl in my lifetime, man. And they have been so close, and just nothing but heartbreak and more heartbreak. And the way that they're going to do it this year, obviously, the offense is a huge part of what makes this team go. The creativity with Shanahan, Kubiak now calling plays up from in that booth. I mean, I think that he showed something today. Brock talked about it a little bit as well. We can get to that a little bit later, but I think that this team goes as far as the defense will take them, because what happened last year when it was on the line and Mahomes was able to do what he does. And yes, he's Patrick Mahomes. That's, why he gets paid all the money he does. He's the best quarterback in the NFL, but this defense was pretty solid. Dre Greenlaw, the injury, obviously, all of that. We don't need to go and rehash all those terrible, terrible moments. We don't need to relive it all. But I do think that the defense will carry this team where it needs to go. That's the engine for this team. The offense, scoring all the points, that's nice. But when this defense is on, this 49ers team is a different type of contender, and this defense needs to play at the level it's capable of playing for the 49ers to win a Super Bowl. And one thing that I really liked seeing today, Jair Brown, Tig Brown getting in there on another forced fumble. And this guy was a turnover machine at the end of last season for the 49ers defense. Came in after a couple injuries in the secondary, and he really stepped up last year as a rookie. This year, in his second year, having a full offseason with the whole team playing with the first string defense, he looks ready to step in, and there's going to be a huge role for him in this defense. Forces a fumble here in this game. He had got a hand in there, was ripping the ball out already when Flanagan Fowles, I think it was Flanagan Fowles, came in and laid a big hit in on the ball carrier as well to just ensure that ball popped out. 49ers fall on it, and that's a great sign. I really want to see more from Jair Brown to show that this wasn't just a flash in the pan, a guy who got hot at the end of last season. We can see that from some guys in the NFL. Those turnover numbers can sometimes be a little bit of fool's gold. But with Jair Brown, I don't think that's the case. This guy just seems to have a nose for the ball, always around on tackles, and he just seems to fly to the ball very, very well. Really great instincts from him at safety, and I think that he'll continue to get better. And the other good things that I saw from this defense, I mean, the defensive front was getting a pretty good push today. And yes, it's the Raiders, I understand, but I mean, I really liked what I saw from Leonard Floyd before he went down with an injury. He had a knee, got kind of rolled up on by Malik Collins when he tried to spin out of a tackle or a block, and he came out of the game, didn't return. Was walking around on the sideline a little bit, though. So, I mean, it's the preseason. You don't need too bad of an injury to be pulled for the game. So hopefully Leonard Floyd will be back for the start of the regular season. I heard Greg Papa say on the broadcast, he hasn't missed a game since 2017 or something. So, I mean, Leonard Floyd, a seasoned veteran. This guy is a rock solid edge rusher. And I think he's going to be a good component of this 49ers defensive line. It seems like every year the 49ers cycle in a new crop of role players down here in the trenches, and they always seem to get solid guys like a DJ Jones or Contavious Street, that guy was pretty good too for a season. And now they have Leonard Floyd and I mentioned the guy who rolled up on him, Malik Collins. I really liked what I saw from Collins today. He should see a lot of run. When the Niners end up rolling a 4 down lineman out there, he should be out there anchoring the middle of that defense along with Hargrave, the gravedigger. So Malik Collins should be getting a lot of one-on-one matchups when he's in the game. And I mean, the way that he's getting pressure in these situations where he's not really seeing a ton of one-on-one matchups right now in this game, because you don't have the gravity of a Nick Bosa on the outside, and Collins is still getting some nice pressure up the middle onto Peterman and in this one, and it's solid defensive line play from guys who are going to be secondary and tertiary players on this defensive line. It's a good sign for the 49ers when you don't have Nick Bosa out there and you're still getting pressure on the quarterback. So everything looks to be going the 49ers way so far. Yes, the Raiders did go and trot out Nate Peterman for the start in this one, and I don't think you can glean too much of any real success. Take it with a grain of salt when Nate Peterman's playing quarterback. Remember, this is the same guy who threw 6 interceptions and a half a couple years ago with the Buffalo Bills. So not great. Nate Peterman, one of the most uninspiring starting quarterbacks in the National Football League. He will not be starting very many games this season for the Raiders. Very likely won't be starting very many games for them. I mean, the 49ers, though, in this one, once the starters came out, the one thing that I didn't like to see was that punt coverage given up for a touchdown. I mean, the punt coverage the last couple seasons has not been super great. The 49ers special teams needs to get better. You can't give up big chunk plays in special teams as often as the 49ers do. I need to see them nail this down. That if there's one thing that I took away as a negative from this game and this postseason in general, 49ers need to shore up their kick coverages a lot. But it was nice to see them respond with a nice giant kick return of their own. Isaac Guerendo responded with a 93-yard kick return after the Raiders had a punt return for a touchdown. 93-yard kick return for Guerendo, pushed out at the 4-yard line, just shy of a touchdown. Patrick Taylor Jr. ends up getting the ball in the end zone for the 49ers, took a 17-7 lead with that. And for Guerendo, he was drafted in the 4th round. 49ers traded up to get him, but we know how this has gone in the past. I mean, every time that they draft like a mid-round running back, I mean, I'm looking at you, Trey Sermon, Tyrion Davis-Price. I mean, if you want to go back even further, Carlos Hyde. I mean, every time the Niners draft a mid-round running back, it hasn't really worked out in recent years. So we'll see. I actually did really like this guy. He's got an interesting combo of power, of just size. Like, he's a big dude, looks like a fullback out there, but he's so fast. I mean, so quick. Averaged over 6 yards a carry at Louisville in his last year in college. So he looked like a guy who could really have a spot on this team. As far as the different guys that they got back there to return kicks, this might be my favorite one, because I really don't want Deebo Samuel back there returning kicks. He gets hurt enough. I don't need him taking those kinds of hits. And I mean, Trent Taylor, we've done this before. I don't know if I really want to redo that. I mean, Trent Taylor's fine, but that's all he is just fine. Guerendo is, I mean, he looked like he had a something out there. I mean, hard to bring down, big guy, hard to get your arms around him and tackle him. And once he gets moving, I mean, that's a lot of weight to try and bring down. And he moves fast, man. So I like him. He had some good vision too as a running back today, like an actual running back, not just a kick returner in this one. He got some nice carries as well. It was good to see the Niners actually having some production from one of these mid-round running backs. Yeah, I mean, we'll see if he makes this roster. A lot of moving parts on this 53-man roster. A lot of position battles, a wide receiver, linebacker, quarterback. So why don't we take a quick break here? And when we come back on the other side, we'll go over those, wrap up this show, put a bow on it, and get you ready for 49ers regular season football. Real football. It's so close. I can almost taste it. They get to go play the New York Jets in that first game of the regular season. And as a great New York Jet once said, in the words of Bart Scott, can't wait. We got to take a quick break here on the Locked On 49ers postcast. We'll be right back. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, on the other side, talking about all these position battles the 49ers currently got going. Stick with us on the Locked On 49ers postcast. We'll be right back. Today's show is sponsored by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within just 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats that they just might not have the time or resources to hire. 2.5 million small businesses already use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free today at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and the 49ers wrap up their preseason with a 24-24 tie with the Raiders. And man, how lame is it that it's the preseason, man, and the Raiders out here playing for a field goal at the end to tie the game. That is some weak stuff, man. I mean, Al Davis is somewhere rolling over in his grave because he would have never, ever let that happen. He's calling down from the booth at 80 years old. I want to throw it deep. So, I mean, weird move by the Raiders. It's the preseason, man. You shouldn't be playing for a tie at all. I mean, just win or go home. I mean, thank God we don't have to deal with overtime in preseason anymore since they abolished that in 2021. So this one ends in a tie. Very weird that a football game ends in a tie, but I'd rather have that in this case than this is the only time I'd rather have a football game end in a tie than a real final score. But some other things from today, we got a lot of position battles going on. So not middle linebacker, that's Fred Warner, but linebacker with Drake Greenlaw missing for some of this season. The 49ers are going to need to find guys to fill in this role. And I mean, I think that they got a couple different options that they can go with. I like Tatum Bethune. I do like him a lot. We saw him get involved in some pass lanes in this one today. We saw him making some tackles up at the line of scrimmage. Seemed to be a guy who is just around the ball in the right place at the right time. I like D. Winters too. D. Winters seems to be a very solid tackler, gets up to the line of scrimmage quickly. Devondre Campbell, not really my choice at linebacker. He's kind of slow from sideline to sideline by my visual. So I personally think it's either Winters or Bethune. I think Winters has a surefire spot on this team, and that leaves Flanagan Fowles on the outside looking in as well. Some of these guys could end up on the practice squad. It's expanded to 17 players, so they should be able to keep a couple of these guys. Some might end up on some other teams after they trim down to the 53-man, and some are cut. But as far as linebacker goes, I like the 7th rounder, Tatum Bethune. I do really like this kid. I hope he sticks with this team. And out of Florida State, he knows how to play against top-tier competition and all those kinds of things. Also, looking at cornerback, we got Luther making a nice interception there at the end of the game in the end zone. And then you had Womack kind of battling for that last spot for the cornerback position. And Womack got burned pretty bad for a touchdown in this one. Lost his receiver, kind of got lost at the line of scrimmage on a little pick route. Couldn't ever make up the speed to close the gap on that wide receiver. Never got his head turned around to locate the ball either once it was up in the air. So looked bad looking play by Sammy Womack. And Darrell Luther Jr. looked solid. I mean, he had the interception and limited action. Those two plays right there might be what determines who makes this roster and who doesn't. Right now, I think it's Luther who has the inside track over Sammy Womack. That's just how it looks based on what we saw today. Then you look at the wide receiver room, and there's a lot of guys over there, but I think Jacob Cowing looks awesome. And I mean, not just from today's game, but all preseason long, he's been really solid, creating a lot of separation. That speed really translates to what we're seeing on the field, which hasn't really translated from other guys like Danny Gray and Ronnie Bell, who are still on this 49ers roster. We saw Ronnie Bell get a couple touches in this one. I don't expect Danny Gray to make this team. I also think Ronnie Bell might be a practice squad guy. I think it's Jacob Cowing, and I think it's Chris Conley. And I mean, obviously, Pearsall, Deebo, and Ayuk. It doesn't leave a lot of room for anyone else on this team. So maybe they keep Trent Taylor as well. I don't know what they're going to do, but they have so many wide receivers that they brought in for this preseason. Robbie Chosen, formerly Robbie Anderson, been around the NFL for a while. He's been around too. I don't think he's going to stick with this team. Just a lot of guys in that wide receiver room. I think Cowing has been really, really, really impressive as a young rookie. And I think that he's going to just get the inside track because the Niners used to draft pick on him this year. And he's also looked really good this preseason. But the one guy who I am most impressed with from this rookie class is Dominic Purdy. And I mean, this guy could be the starter at right guard week 1, especially with Burford injured. And I mean, he didn't look super great at the end of last season anyways. And Purdy is punishing dudes out there. I mean, he in college, he went to Kansas. He was a very, very solid guard there. Not a lot of recognition nationally because he was playing at Kansas. He was also a finalist for Polynesian Football Player of the Year. And there's a lot of pretty damn good Polynesian football players out there. So to be in that conversation shows you how good of a player that this guy could be. And there's just so many more guys who are going to stick around from this rookie draft class. I'm actually really hyped about this rookie draft class. Green, another guy who I'm really excited about at cornerback. I think he's going to have a good season for the 49ers. The one guy missing, Ricky Pearsall. And that's the big question mark. If he hits, I mean, we were just talking about 49ers swinging and missing on mid-round running backs. Talk about swinging and missing. The 49ers on first-round wide receivers since like forever are really bad at guessing and getting those guys right. Brandon Ayuk was a hit. But other than that, it's been tough sledding in that role drafting guys. Pearsall, I'm already starting to get the feeling that we're going to be dealing with these injuries with him a lot, and that's not something that I want to feel about a rookie going into the regular season before he's even played his first meaningful NFL snaps. That's not something that I want to see. It's also, I don't think that you can like officially give someone that tag in the preseason before they even start their first regular season as an NFL rookie. I think I am getting this feeling a little bit though, so we'll see what happens. I want to see Pearsall out there. I really hope he's ready to go week 1 and we don't just hear, he tried and he's a tough kid and he got close, but we need to sit him for this week. He wanted to play, but we got to sit him. I don't want to be hearing any of that kind of BS. I want this guy out there. I want to see what he can do in this offense. I mean, it would be really awesome to see Pearsall, Deebo, BA, and Kittle and CMC all out there, the 49ers offense in full force with 5 huge targets for Brock to play with. That would be, I mean, that's what the 49ers envisioned when they drafted him. That's why they drafted this kid out of Florida. He's a big playmaker, and I hope that the 49ers get to utilize him as that with the rest of this offense sooner rather than later. I'm excited to see what he looks like on the field with this full company of weapons that Brock Purdy is surrounded by. And I'm excited for this 49ers season, man. I'm ready to go. I got the 42 Ronnie Lott gamer on it while we're doing the show. And I'm hyped for some 49er football, man. We didn't really get into the backup quarterback discussion. I'm going to make it short, sweet, and simple. Brandon Allen looks like a statue and a punching bag with zero timing or presence in that pocket. Josh Dobbs looks like he's actually got a sense for what's going on in the game around him and plays faster. I like Josh Dobbs, the pastronaut. We saw what he did last year when the off-schedule plays, when the Vikings went and picked him up from the Cardinals. I think that should be your backup quarterback going forward. I'm not that into Brandon Allen. I know he's the more prototypical guy, and he's been here for a little bit longer, probably knows the playbook a little bit better than Josh Dobbs. But, dude's a astrophysicist, at least that's what his degree is in. So I think he'll be just fine and getting up to speed. He's a pretty smart guy, I'm assuming. So I like Josh Dobbs as the backup quarterback. I like the mobility, the off-schedule plays. I would rather see that than Brandon Allen just standing there getting hit every 5 minutes in the pocket. That was not very encouraging. It's about all the time that we got for you guys on today's show. We didn't get to Brock Purdy's comments during the interview he had mid-game with Greg Papa, but Brock basically said that it was nice to feel like it's starting to feel a little bit like last season. That was the one thing that he said that I really took away from that interview. He also said he liked Clay Kubiak as the play caller. Says he'll be more creative later on, but right now they were just kind of running their base offense, and then he has a few tricks up his sleeve. So ultimately, I think we saw what we needed to see from the 49ers. There wasn't any really big glaring thing coming into this game that you were like, I need to see this team do X. Wasn't really any of that. 49ers are still more or less the same team that went to the Super Bowl last season. All they need to do is play their game and stay healthy, and they should be right back there this year. That's all the time that we got for you guys today on the Locked On 49ers postcast, but we're going live right after this on the Locked On Giants postcast as the Giants just wrapped up against the Mariners, got walked off in Seattle, so we got to get to that. So that's all the time we got for you guys today. Make sure, if you aren't already subscribed to the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel, that you do subscribe. We will be doing these postcasts all season long, and it's a fun time, man. It's a discussion. I love having a discussion with the audience, so make sure you're leaving comments. We'll go back and forth. I'll address questions, things, comments, whatever, and we'll have some fun, man. We'll have some fun. So the 49ers, about 2 weeks from now, play the New York Jets in real meaningful football. We'll come to you live then. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.